Whenever you're ready here, Jim. Wow.
Okay, if I could get, if I could ask council or committee members to turn their cameras on and come into the meeting. We'll call this meeting to order at 6:01. Welcome to the Committee of Adjustment being held virtually this Monday, June 6, 2022. Please note this electronic meeting is being live streamed and recorded and will be available on the township website. If there is a problem with the technology impacting the proceedings of a meeting, the meeting may be recessed at the direction of the chair to confirm that the electronic format is performing effectively before proceeding further out with the agenda. In the event of connection or service disruption, the chair may recess the meeting to allow for attempts to reconnect. So moving forward on the agenda, the first item is the adoption of the agenda. I'm not aware of any additions or revisions. None? Okay, thank you. So if I could have a motion to adopt the agenda, please. Moved by Mr. Townend, seconded by Ms. Parks. Thank you. All in favor, please raise a hand. Motion is passed. Disclosure of pecuniary interest in the general nature thereof. Is there any disclosure for this evening's meeting? I will be declaring for item number 5.7 as I am the applicant. I will be stepping down from the chair at that time. And I will be submitting the paperwork. The next item is the approval of the Committee of Adjustment minutes for May 2nd, 2022. Any errors or omissions noted? Seeing none, do we have a motion to approve the minutes? Moved by Mr. Budrick, seconded by Mr. Townend. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise a hand. Thank you. Motion is carried. So now entering the public meeting, the first one on the agenda is 804 Fairbank Street. Mr. Soni, you have a, sorry. Ms. Austin just put her hand up. Not sure if I missed something. Oh, it's back down. Okay, maybe it was an error. Mr. Soni, do you have a presentation or information on this one?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I'll be presenting.
Please proceed.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. So this application for the subject lot located at 804 Fairbanks Street by the applicant Victor Scott Walton is for minor variance. The minor variance is required to increase the maximum height of the proposed accessory structure, which is called a prefabricated hut, from 4 meters to 5 meters. This property is located on the west side of the Fairbanks Street. And in order for us to review the minor variance application, the application should meet the 4 tests under Section 45(1) of the Planning Act. So in accordance with that, the provincial policy statement was reviewed. The county of Lennox and Addington official plan designates the land as rural area in Schedule A of the plan. And the Loyalist Township official plan designates the lands as rural in Schedule A of the plan. All the pertinent section of the official plan, both the official plans and provincial policy statements were reviewed. And the new proposed accessory structure is recognized as an acceptable residential use and does not appear to conflict with any of the associated policies. The proposed accessory structure is proposed in a location that is already cleared in the rear yard of the property. No disturbance to the natural surroundings, the streetscapes, and the neighborhood is expected. Therefore, the staff is of the opinion that the proposed development meets the general intent and purpose of both the official plans. Moving forward with the zoning considerations, the subject land is zoned rural residential in our current zoning bylaw. All the pertinent sections were again reviewed. And in this case, the increased height is desired to accommodate a trailer with an air conditioning unit attached on the top to be parked within the proposed accessory structure. Since the development is proposed in the rear yard, there are no direct implications on the streetscape, neighboring properties, and the character of the residents. Therefore, the staff are of the opinion that the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw have been satisfied. Moving forward, the requested variance is considered an appropriate development of the land as the accessory building is in keeping with the residential use of the property. The location and height of the structure will not impact neighboring land uses and serves to promote the intended residential use of the property. And for the above reasons, planning staff are of the opinion that the variance is desirable, compatible, and appropriate use of land. Finally, the variance can be considered minor as the location of the accessory structure is within the rear yard of the property and is sufficiently buffered from the adjacent properties. The accessory structure will still maintain the subsidiary and accessory nature as compared to the primary residence and would not result in associated residential development that is in keeping with the area. So for the above reasons, planning staff are of the opinion that the variance is minor in nature. The application has been reviewed by internal departments and vetted through local agencies to ensure compliance with the above criteria. At the time of the writing report and as of today, there were no public comments obtained for the particular application. So for these reasons and all the reasons mentioned above, planning staff is of the opinion to approve the proposed minor variance application. Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation. Members of the committee, any questions for staff before we open it to the public? Seeing none, we will open it to the public for anyone who wants to make comment or ask questions on this application. We'll just note that we only get to speak once and during the public meeting session. If you wish to enter the meeting, please use the raise hand feature and you will be brought into the meeting. None? No. Okay. I'll just mention again, if you want to enter the meeting, please use the raised hand. Otherwise, we'll proceed on with the meeting. None indicated? Thank you. Okay, we'll proceed with the meeting then. come back to committee. If there's any questions of staff, now would be the time. Seeing none, we do have a recommendation to approve with a condition. What was the committee's wishes be? Anyone want to make a motion? Sorry, Mr. Boudreau.
Receive and adopt the recommendations with the reasons that are attached.
Receive and adopt. Any seconder? Mr. Town. Comments, movers, seconder, other members? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor, please raise a hand. Motion is passed. Moving to 5.2, D 13-005-2022 at 4976 Bath Road, a minor variance. You want to speak to this one as well, Mr. Soning?
Yes, Mr. Chair. So thank you. And subject, the particular application is for the subject lot located at 4976 Bath Road. The owners, Fiona and Andrew Hovels, are requesting minor variance to reduce the floodplain setback from 15 meters to 7.5 meters, reduce the interior east yard setback from 5 meters to 4 meters, and reduce the rear yard setback from 8.5 meters to 7.5 meters to allow the construction of a deck. Moving forward, the property is located on the south side of the Bath Road, which is Highway 33, and is west of Amherst View and has water frontage onto the Lake Ontario. Currently, the property contains an existing dwelling and associated accessory structures. Minor variance needs to meet the tests as per Section 45(1) of the Planning Act, and pertaining to that provincial policy statement was reviewed. The County of Lennox and Addington official plan designates the lands as rural area in the Schedule A, and the township official plan designates the subject land as shoreline residential in the Schedule C. All the pertinent sections were reviewed, and proposed location for the deck will not cause disturbances to the surrounding area, and the use is recognized in both the official plans. The proposed development will not impact the residential uses of the subject property or neighboring properties and will not aggravate any natural hazards. Therefore, staff is of the opinion that the proposed development meets the general intent and purpose of both the official plans. Moving forward, the Loyalist Township zoning bylaw zones the subject land as shoreline residential. Again, the pertinent sections were reviewed, and the encroachment of the 15-meter setback of the 1:100-year floodline has been satisfied through consultation with the CRCA to ensure that natural hazards associated with the shoreline of Lake Ontario were appropriately considered. No concerns have been raised in regard to public safety, and the effects on the residential nature of the property have been considered with respect to the reduced interior side yard setback. As there are no natural hazard concerns nor any effect on the residential nature of the property or neighboring properties, staff are of the opinion that the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw have been satisfied. Moving forward, the requested variances are considered an appropriate development of the property for residential purposes and are not considered to impact the general character of the surrounding area. Additionally, the location of the proposed deck will not impact surrounding land uses and serves to promote the intended residential use of the property. For the above reasons, planning staff is of the opinion that variance is a desirable, compatible, and appropriate use of the land. And finally, the variance can be considered minor as the location of the proposed deck maintains all other zone provisions with the exception of the 7.5-meter encroachment into the floodplain setback and 1 meter setback reduction for both the interior east yard and rear yard. For the above reasons, planning staff is of the opinion that the variance is minor in nature. Again, the application has been reviewed by internal departments and vetted through local agencies to ensure compliance with above criteria. And at the time of writing the report, and as of today, no public comments were obtained for the subject application. So for this reason and all the reasons mentioned above, planning staff is of the opinion to approve the proposed minor variance application. Thank you.
Thank you. Committee members, any questions for staff before we open it to the public? Seeing none, We'll ask that if anyone in the virtual meeting wishes to speak to this, please use the raise hand and you'll be brought into the meeting. Seeing none, I'll just one more time. This is your opportunity to speak to this if you wish. Please use raise hand if you can be brought into the meeting. None? Seeing none, we'll proceed. So just come back to committee members. If there's any questions for staff or comments, now would be the time. Otherwise, we do have a recommendation with one condition for recommending approval. Does the committee wish to make a motion? Mr. Townend?
I move to receive the report and adopt the recommendation with the condition.
So moved. Seconded. Mr. Budrick, any comments from mover, seconder? No one else? In that case, I'll call the question. All those in favor, please raise a hand. Motion is passed. And moving to 5.3, D13006, 2022 at 74 Nicholson Point Road.
So, Mr. Chair, I'll be presenting the application. So thank you. And proposed application is for the subject lot located at 74 Nicholson Point Road. And the owner, Kenneth and Janet Honning, are requesting minor variance application to reduce the floodplain setback from 15 meters to 10 meters and to allow the height of a proposed garage to be 5 meters from the maximum permitted height of 4 meters in order to demolish an existing residence and build a new residence with a detached garage. So moving forward, the property is located on the south side of the Bath Road, which is Highway 33 and is on west of Amherst View. The property has water frontage onto the Lake Ontario, and currently the property contains an existing dwelling and associated residential development. Again, since it's a minor variance application, as per Section 45(1) of the Planning Act, it should meet all the 4 tests, which were reviewed. And as a part of the process, the provincial policy statement was reviewed. The county official plan designates the land as urban area in the Schedule A, and the township official plan designates the land as shoreline residential in the Schedule C. As mentioned, all the pertinent sections were reviewed, and the placement of the new house would be in the same vicinity as the old structure, located further inland of the existing structure, thereby improving the erosion and flooding concerns associated with the development along the shoreline of the Lake Ontario. Comments provided by CRCA have not identified concerns associated with the requested variance. The development is considered in keeping with the recent residential improvements that have been seen along this stretch of the waterfront. Moving forward, the proposed location for both the residence and detached garage will not cause disturbances to the surrounding area. The use is recognized in both the official plans, and therefore the staff is of the opinion that the proposed development meets the general intent and purpose of both the official plans. Moving forward, the subject land is zoned shoreline residential with exception number 7. Again, the pertinent sections of the zoning bylaw were reviewed. The encroachment on the 15-meter setback of the 1:100-year flood line has been satisfied through consultation with the CRCA to ensure that natural hazards associated with the shoreline of Lake Ontario were appropriately considered. Additionally, the applicant's request for increasing the maximum permitted height of the proposed detached garage from 4 meters to 5 meters to increase storage capacity does not adversely affect the private amenity space of adjoining properties. Therefore, staff are of the opinion that the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw has been satisfied. Moving forward, the requested variances are considered an appropriate development of the property for residential purposes and are not considered to impact the general character of the surrounding area. And for the above reasons, planning staff is of the opinion that the variance is a desirable, compatible, and appropriate use of the land. Finally, the variances can be considered minor as the location of the proposed residence and detached garage maintains all other zone regulations. The proposed setback reduction into the floodplain is viewed as an improvement to existing conditions, as the proposed residential will be located further inland. In terms of the 1 meter height increase of the proposed garage, it will still maintain the subsidiary and accessory nature as compared to the primary residence and not adversely impact any neighboring properties. And for the above reasons, planning staff is of the opinion that the application is minor in nature. Again, the application has been reviewed by internal departments invited through local agencies to ensure compliance with the above criteria. And at the time of writing this report, and as of today, no public comments were received. So for these reasons and all the reasons mentioned above, planning staff is of the opinion to approve the minor variance application. Thank you.
Thank you. Committee members, if there's any questions for staff, we can take them. Seeing none. If there's anyone in the audience that wishes to speak to this, please use the raise hand feature and we will bring you into the meeting. Seeing none. I'll ask a second time. If you wish to join the meeting to comment on this application, use the raise hand feature and we can bring you into the meeting. Seeing none, we'll proceed. Committee members, we do have a recommendation to approve with one condition. Does anyone, Ms. Parks?
Motion to receive and approve based on the presented conditions in the report.
Okay, so moved. Seconded, Mr. Budrick. Any questions or comments from members? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor, please raise a hand. Motion is passed. Keeping me straight. 5. That was 5.3, 5.4. D13007, 2022, 230 Drumgoole Lane for a minor variance. Mr. Senior?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. So this minor variance application affects property located at 230 Drumgoole Lane on Amherst Island to reduce the floodplain setback from 15 meters to 0 meter, reduce the front yard setback from 10 meters to 6 meters, reduce the rear yard setback from 10 meters to 0 meter, and reduce both the interior and south side yard setback from 5 meters to 0 meter to allow construction of a residence. The property is located on the east side of Drumgoole Lane and has frontage on Lake Ontario. The property is constrained due to the topography of the property itself, which allows the floodplain to extend significantly inland. As a result of this, a floodplain setback cannot be met and a reduction to 0 meters is being requested. The front yard setback is being requested, the front yard setback is being reduced to 6 meters in order to locate the development as far back from the water as possible. The reduction in the rear and interior side yard setbacks to 0 meter is due to a zoning provision that does not allow any setback calculations to be done in a floodplain. In actuality, the setbacks to the property lines are not 0. However, due to the zoning provision, 0 meter setbacks are required. The property is designated shoreline residential in the township's official plan, which permits residential uses. As the residential use is permitted and the CRCA has provided favorable comments from a natural hazards perspective, staff are of the opinion that the general intent and purpose of the official plan is met. The property is zoned shoreline residential in the township's zoning bylaw. Staff are of the opinion that the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw is met, as the requested variances would not negatively impact the streetscape, conflict with the neighboring uses, or cause any natural hazard concerns. The requested variances are also considered an appropriate development of the land, as it will allow for the residential use of the property while appropriately addressing the natural hazards. Drainage is also appropriately addressed through conditions that require a drainage easement and a grading plan. The variance can be considered minor, as the location of the residence would not pose any safety hazards or result in negative streetscape impacts or adverse impacts to the neighboring properties in Lake Ontario. Also, no public comments have been received, and the staff are recommending approval of this application. I would also like to note that condition 2 in the recommendation contains a typo and should read 210 Drumgoole Lane rather than 201, and I'm recommending this be revised in the committee's recommendation. Thank you, Mr. Seth. So for all those reasons, the staff is of the opinion to approve the proposed minor variance application.
Thank you. Committee members, any questions for staff before we open it to the public? Seeing none, we'll go to the public portion. If there's anyone in the virtual meeting that wishes to speak to this, please use the raise hand and we can bring you into the meeting. Seeing none, I'll ask one more time. If there's any anyone who wishes to come into the meeting to speak to this, please use the raise hand feature. And seeing none, we'll proceed. Committee members, if there's any final questions for staff, we can ask them. Seeing none, we do have a recommendation before us to approve with conditions. Would someone like to make a motion? Mr. Townend?
Motion to receive the report and adopt the recommendation subject to the conditions named therein.
So moved, seconded. Mr. Budrick? Any questions or comments from members? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor, please raise a hand. Motion is passed. Okay. Item 5.5, D13008, 2022 for 539 Main Street in Bath, a minor variance. Mr. Soni, you have a presentation again?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I will be presenting. Thank you. So this application is for the subject lot located at 539 Main Street, Bath. And the owner, Stephen and Laura Norman, are requesting minor variance to reduce the floodplain line setback from 15 meter to 0 meter, reduce the rear yard setback from 7.5 meter to 0 meter, and reduce the interior east yard setback from 1.8 meter to 1 meter, to allow the attached garage to be closer to the front lot line by 15.5 meter as compared to the maximum of 2 meters permitted. And that the application be approved subject to the conditions. So moving forward, the property is located on the east side of Highway 33, Main Street at the west end of the village of Bath. The property also has water frontage onto the Lake Ontario. Again, since it's a minor variance application, it should be in compliance with the 4 tests of Section 45(1) of the Planning Act. And under that, the provincial policy statement was reviewed. The county official plan designates the land as urban area in the Schedule A. And the township official plan designates the subject land as low density residential in the Schedule D. All the pertinent sections were reviewed and the use is recognized in both the official plans. And therefore, the staff is of the opinion that the proposed development meets the general intent and purpose of both the official plans. Moving forward, the township zoning bylaw zones the subject land as residential type 1. Again, the pertinent sections were reviewed. And in this case, the sole reason the relief is requested from the floodplain line is due to the increase in the volume of the existing use, which is detached garage, and no further encroachment in the floodplain line setback is involved. The encroachment in the front yard by 13.5 meter as compared to 2 meter permitted is appropriately buffered by a distance of 60 meter. The reduction in the interior east yard setback is requested as the proposal involves the development of an additional story above both the recreational room and the attached garage. The location of the proposed development is at a sufficient distance to respect the privacy of both the neighbors. Lastly, the relief from the rear yard setback is only required as the rear yard is located within a floodplain and the zoning bylaw does not allow any area within a floodplain to be utilized in the calculation of the zone provisions. All the other zoning provisions have been satisfied, and thus the proposal is considered appropriate in its size and location and has no implications on the neighborhood and streetscape. Therefore, staff are of the opinion that the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw has been satisfied. Moving forward, the requested variances are considered an appropriate development of the property for residential purposes and are not considered to impact the general character of the surrounding area. Since the property is abutting Lake Ontario, most of the garages, both attached and detached, are placed within the front yard of the properties in the surrounding area, and thus the proposal is consistent with the nature and character of the neighborhood. For the above reasons, planning staff are of the opinion that the variance is a desirable, compatible, and appropriate use of the land. Finally, the variances can be considered minor as the location of the proposed recreational room and the attached garage, as well as the porch, is consistent with the nature and character of the surrounding neighborhood and the streetscape. So for the above reasons, planning staff is of the opinion that the variance is minor in nature. The application has been reviewed by internal department and vetted through local agencies to ensure compliance with the above criteria. All the departments were in support of the application with 2 conditions from the engineering department. And at the time of writing this report, and as of today, no public comments were received for the particular application. Therefore, so for these reasons and all the reasons mentioned above, the planning staff is of the opinion to approve the proposed minor variance application. Thank you.
Thank you. Committee members, any questions for staff before we open it to the public? Seeing none, if there's anyone in the audience that wishes to speak to this, please use the raised hand feature and you will be brought into the meeting. Seeing none, we'll ask the question one more time. If anyone wishes to enter the meeting to speak to this, please use the raise hand feature. Seeing none, we'll proceed. Committee members, if there's no further questions for staff, we do have a recommendation for approval with conditions. What's the wishes? Ms. Parks?
To receive and approve based on the conditions presented.
So moved, seconded by Mr. Budrick. Any questions or comments from mover, seconder, other members? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor, please raise a hand. Motion is passed. Moving to 5.6, D13009, 2022. Regarding 274 Nicholson Point Road. Mr. Stoney, you want to speak to this again?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I'll be presenting. Thank you. So, as you said, the subject lot is located at 274 Nicholson Point Road, and the owner, Maureen Daly and Colin Ralph Edwards, are requesting minor variance to reduce the floodplain setback from 15 meters to 12 meters to allow the construction of a proposed balcony as an addition to the existing residence. So the property is located south of the Bath Road, which is Highway 33, and on the west side of Nicholson Point. The property has water frontage onto the Lake Ontario. Again, since it's a minor variance application, the tests as per section 45(1) of the Planning Act should be met. And under that, provincial policy statement was reviewed. The county official plan designates the lands as urban area in the Schedule A, and the township official plan designates the land as shoreline residential in the Schedule C. All the pertinent section of the official plans were reviewed, and the use is recognized in both the official plans. Staff are of the opinion that the reduced floodplain setback from 15 meters to 12 meters will not impact the residential uses of the subject property or neighboring properties and will not aggravate any natural hazards. Therefore, staff is of the opinion that the proposed development meets the general intent and purpose of both the official plans. Moving forward, the township zoning bylaw zones the subject land as shoreline residential exception 7. Again, the pertinent section of the zoning bylaw were reviewed, and the encroachment on the 15-meter setbacks of the 1:100-year floodplain line has been satisfied through consultation with the CRCA to ensure that natural hazards associated with the shoreline of Lake Ontario were appropriately considered. Therefore, the staff are of the opinion that the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw has been satisfied. Moving forward, the location of the proposed balcony will not impact surrounding land uses and serves to promote the intended residential use of the property. So for the above reasons, planning staff are of the opinion that the variance is a desirable, compatible, and appropriate use of the land. And finally, the variance can be considered minor as the location of the proposed balcony maintains all the other zoning regulations with exception of the 3 meters encroachment into the floodplain setback. And therefore, and for the above reasons, planning staff is of the opinion that the variance is minor in nature. Again, the application has been reviewed by internal departments and vetted through local agencies to ensure compliance with the above criteria. And at the time of the writing this report, and as of today, no public comments were received for the application. So for these reasons and all the reasons mentioned above, planning staff is of the opinion to approve the proposed minor variance application. Thank you.
Thank you. Committee members, any questions for staff at this time? Seeing none, we'll go to the public meeting. If anyone in the audience wishes to speak to this, please use the raised hand feature and we'll bring you into the meeting. Seeing none, I'll ask one more time. Anyone in the audience that wishes to speak to this, please use the raise hand feature to be brought into the meeting. Seeing none, we'll proceed. We do have a recommendation from staff to approve with one condition. What is the committee's wishes?
Approve with that one condition, please. Through you, sir.
So moved. Seconded by Mr. Town. Any questions or comments? Mover, seconder, other members, none? In that case, I will call the question. All those in favor, please raise a hand. Motion is carried. The next item, I declared a conflict of interest as I am the applicant, and I will be vacating the chair and leaving the room. I'll be turning, now I just want to double check. There's no members in waiting to get into the meeting.
No.
So typically normally we need 4 members for a council meeting, but because this is a committee, I'm just going to say this for the public's benefit. Because this is a committee of adjustment, quorum is actually 3 members as a minimum. So when I vacate the chair, there will still be 3 members of the committee present, and that is under the guidelines of our solicitor, which provided information during a training session, and that was part of it. So with that, I will vacate the chair. I will turn it to, I would ask Mr. Townend to please proceed as chair in my absence, as he was nominated for county council alternate by council. So I will leave him with this item.
Okay, so moving on to item 5.7, Hagedorn Road, James Hagedorn Severance, and over to Mr. Sony, who I'm assuming is giving the presentation for this as well.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I'll be presenting and thank you. So the proposed application is for land severance for creation of a new lot at the subject lot located at 175 Hagedorn Road. And the staff is of the opinion to approve the land severance application with the conditions. So moving forward on the presentation. Okay, yeah. The subject lot is a large rural land parcel with frontages on both County Road 19, also known as Mud Lake Road, and Hagedorn Road. The proposed severance is towards the northwest end of the lot, which with its frontage on County Road 19, and so is proposed at a considerable distance from an existing easement, water stream, barn, and current residence. The committee must have regard to criteria in section 51(24) of the Planning Act, and based on the review, the proposal appears to satisfy the Planning Act considerations. The provincial policy statement was also reviewed, and the PPS permits appropriate residential development on rural lands, and additional policies related to aggregate and natural hazards have been satisfied. And therefore, the staff are of the opinion that the consent is consistent with the PPS. The county official plan designates the subject land as rural area in the Schedule A, and the township's official plan designates the subject land as rural in their Schedule A, and are also identified as bedrock study area in the Schedule G of the plan. The pertinent section of the official plan was reviewed, and the proposed residential severance is recognized in both the official plans. The county official plan refers to the local official plan for rural lot creation. And as per the current policy framework, 2 severances are permitted, and the proponent is seeking the creation of just one new lot, which complies with, which again complies with the minimum frontage and area requirements. The minimum distance separation calculation was also conducted for the barns in the vicinity in accordance with the guidelines from the Ministry of Agriculture, Food and Rural Affairs. The proposed severance does not fall within the setback buffer of 91 meters from the barn, which is present on the east of the subject property. The location of the proposed severance falls within the bedrock study area under Schedule G of the current township's official plan. The policy states that further studies can be conducted by certified professionals to address the issues with the incompatibility as a part of the land severance application. The applicant, Mr. James Hagedorn, hired an aggregate reserve specialist to prepare a mineral aggregate land use compatibility report for the proposed severance. The report addresses the prime areas of concern for incompatible use and is in support of the proposed severance, subject to the restrictions on building placement, which has been added as a condition to the application. The County of Lennox and Addington also supports an entrance for the proposed lot creation. So for this reason, staff are of the opinion that the application meets the intent and purpose of the official plan. Moving forward, the subject property is zoned rural and environmental protection in the current zoning bylaw. The pertinent sections of the zoning bylaw were reviewed. And the area and lot frontage of the proposed severance and the retained lot conforms to the zoning requirements. Therefore, it is the opinion of the staff that the proposal meets the intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw. All the other matters can be addressed by the conditions if approved. The application has been circulated to internal departments and applicable agencies. The engineering division has indicated no concerns with their conditions, as well as the County of Lennox and Addington has no objection with their respective conditions. At the time of the writing this report, and as of today, only one written comment has been provided by a member of public, which is attached as an attachment to the staff report. Concerns were raised with the groundwater control, as the existing property now sends surface water onto the neighboring property at 180 Mud Lake Road. It was further commented that there would be concerns if a structure is erected on the property and is elevated without proper surface water controls. The concern was immediately discussed with the engineering division, and a condition in addition to providing a grading plan to the satisfaction of engineering division was incorporated to ensure that no additional surface water shall be concentrated or directed to the neighboring properties as a result of the development on this lot. The applicant was made aware of the comments and the additional condition, which is also included in the development agreement. So for these reasons and all the reasons mentioned above, planning staff is of the opinion to approve the proposed land severance application. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Soni. Any questions from committee members? I'll turn to the clerk if there are any members of the public present who wish to speak to the application.
No, raise your hands.
Then I would look to the committee for a motion. Mr. Buderick.
Receive the recommendations and adopt.
The motion is to receive the report and adopt the recommendations therein. Can I have a seconder? Was over to Ms. Parks either way. So I'll call the question. All those in favor? Motion is carried.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Townend, for taking the chair. That completed that item. Thank you. Okay, that completes all the items on our meeting for this evening for the Committee of Adjustment. There were no decisions to be discussed, other business, and the only other thing is the next meeting is scheduled at this time for July 4th, 2022. So with that, I would take a motion for adjournment. Mr. Townend, seconded by Ms. Parks. All those in favor, please raise a hand. Motion is passed. Thank you. We are adjourned.